That was Cora by GoGo Penguin. They've been called the Radiohead of jazz, combining jazz, experimental rock, electronic dance music, trip-hop, and minimalist classical music. The Manchester-based trio have carved out a unique place in a busy landscape, and they've turned heads along their way. Their 2014 album V 2.0 was nominated for a Mercury Prize, that's England's version of the Grammy Awards, and they've just released their fourth album, their third on the prestigious jazz label Blue Note. To tell us more about this new self-titled record, I'm joined by pianist Chris Illingworth. Now, we're going to join him virtually because, of course, there are strict social distancing measures in place given the current situation. Thank you so much for being with us today, Chris. Now, before we talk about your new album, these certainly are unusual times that we're living in. How has the ongoing coronavirus crisis and the lockdown affected your musical projects?
It's pretty much brought everything to a complete standstill at the moment, unfortunately. I mean, as you say, we've just got this new album out at the moment. And, usually we'd be straight out on the road and we'd be touring. So for the last few months, it would have been all touring. We would have been out on the road all over the country, all over Europe, traveling to America, traveling to some parts of Asia. And unfortunately, we're staying at home. But, the silver lining has been that I've had time with family, with my son, who's only just turned 1. And, we're looking at different ways that we can do things. I think that's the way everyone's having to treat it now. We're having to kind of adapt and change a little bit.
So there is some silver lining if you can spend some time with your family. Now, over the past 10 years, you and your bassist Nick Blacka and drummer Rob Turner, you've really honed a trademark GoGo Penguin sound that breaks down barriers between jazz, rhythmic, electronic music, repetitive neoclassical music. Is that why you decided to self-title this album GoGo Penguin, to say in a way, this is the definitive GoGo Penguin sound?
I'm not sure if it's definitely the definitive sound, but it's the closest we can get to now. I think that's what we felt best represented it. In the past, we've had an idea that we felt kind of encompassed all of the music as a whole in the end. We'd find titles often quite tricky to come up with. We try and keep it a little bit abstract. And we don't want them to dictate to people, this is what this track is about. We want people to have some freedom in interpreting the music the way they want to. So with this one, it just felt like when we came to coming up with an album title and finding something that represented all of the music, the only thing that felt honest and felt kind of true was saying, it's us right now, it's who the band is, and it's the best version of that we've achieved so far. But fingers crossed, hopefully it's still a long path and, we're going to be able to keep developing and changing and evolving.
So this is the current GoGo Penguin sound. We're going to listen to a track off the album. This is the live version of the lead single off the album. It's called Atomized. Take a listen. So that was the track Atomized, one of the 10 tracks off your album. Now what's interesting is though there's an electronic feel to your music, you actually record and perform acoustically. How is it that you compose as a trio?
It definitely depends on the track. I mean, we could spend hours kind of going into depth on some of the kind of ways that we write, but generally it'll be that somebody comes up with a small idea. I mean, that could be anything from a few chords to a drum beat or a sketch for something a little bit bigger. And then we work on it together. And that's what we had the luxury of this time. We had a lot more time to kind of spend some time together in the studio, throw the ideas around. And we've always made sure we try every single idea. It's very time consuming, but it means that we, definitely find what we think is the best version, best kind of most essential idea for that track. And, something like Atomized, we do try and incorporate these electronic ideas, but as you say, we play them acoustically, but then maybe add, subtle things. So, I've experimented a bit more with experimental techniques with how I can use the piano and then also some effect pedals. It's the same with Nick and Rob. They've incorporated things that maybe aren't traditional in the way that we would approach the instrument. But really it is, acoustic instruments, and we just incorporate those electronic ideas.
And you mentioned there that you're not traditional in your sound. It's really interesting when people try to describe your music, they compare you to all sorts of different bands, from EST to Aphex Twin, Square Pusher, Massive Attack, but also minimalist classical music geniuses like Steve Reich or Philip Glass. Now, what are the bands that influence you? Because that's a wide range of musicians there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, though. It's like that for all of us. We've all grown up from different musical backgrounds, and I've been very lucky that there've been a lot of very important people in my life who've influenced my musical tastes. So right from being influenced early on into rock music like Led Zeppelin and Jethro Tull. My mom, when I was growing up as a kid, she'd have that on in the house, and then there were teachers who'd get me into they heard me playing piano. So one of my teachers, my maths teacher, introduced me to jazz, through Keith Jarrett, Oscar Peterson, Brad Meldau. And then my technology teacher, graphic design teacher, he got me into Massive Attack, Espion Svensson Trio, and then a lot of electronica and hip hop. And it was, and then other friends who introduced me to other things along the way. So it's a difficult one to put a finger on, but I think that's what makes GoGo Penguin what it makes it. We've all got these very diverse tastes. There are occasionally overlaps where we find, or more than occasionally, we find that there's a lot of music we all like, and we can share those ideas together. But then there are things that is individual. The things that set, and we bring that together.
And what's interesting is you're signed to this very prestigious jazz label that's Blue Note. You have a traditional jazz lineup, piano, drums, and upright bass. Would you say that you are still a jazz band? Your sound has very much evolved. It's matured over the age. Are you still a jazz band today?
We never say what kind of band we are. We're just a band. We just play music. It's for other people to put those kind of labels and things on it, because it's not useful for us, but I can appreciate it is useful for other people. To be able to describe to your friends what kind of music it might be. Labels are useful. What kind of music your friends might like. What you like, and those can be helpful in that way. But for us as musicians, when we write music, when we play music, we don't want limitations and rules. We don't want restrictions unless we decide to put them there. And, calling it something, calling it a genre or a name, or calling it jazz, you're immediately putting these, even if it's just subconscious, you're immediately putting those boundaries on it. You're preventing yourself from having absolute freedom. So we don't worry about what people call it, but we don't call it anything.
That's a very good philosophy for life, I think, Chris. We're going to move on to some other music news that's making headlines. The American electronic musician Juliana Barwick, known for looping and layering her incredible voice, is releasing her fourth full-length album. It's called Healing is a Miracle. Now, she teamed up with Sigur Rós frontman Johnsy for a beautiful track on the album. It's called In Light. Take a listen. Next, British R&B singer Georgia Smith has released a new single, a cover of the song Rose Rouge, with a powerful clip in support of the global Black Lives Matter movement. All proceeds from the sales of the single will be donated to the nonprofit Kwanda, a platform designed to help black communities. Now, Rose Rouge, originally a song from the French house band Saint-Germain, is released as part of a forthcoming Blue Note reimagined album. Take a listen.
I want you to get together. Put your hands together one time.
Now, Chris, there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the future of live music. A lot of festivals have been canceled. It's unclear when venues are going to be able to reopen as they were before. Do you think that musicians are going to have to kind of think outside the box and invent new ways of connecting with their fans?
It's different for every band. It's different for every artist. And, it's not just musicians that have been affected by it, obviously, in the art world. It's these experiences, whether it's going to an art gallery, whether it's going to the theatre, whether it's going to a music concert, they're all shared experiences. It's important that for us as a band, the audience is there and we feed off them as much as they feed off what we do on stage. And I really don't think that's good. It's not replaceable. You know, it's something that can be changed and developed into some other kind of form. There's a reason that is as big and as important as it is for people. And in the meantime, you know, artists are supposed to be creative people. So, you know, I'm sure we'll all come up with different things that we can do to be able to, you know, connect with each other and connect with our fans and to be able to just keep entertained. You know, that's it at the end of the day, isn't it? You know, we try to give people something that they get pleasure from and enjoy. And I think as long as we can still do that and we can share that, then, you know, we can get through all the...
Well, I look forward to going to a live concert myself, hopefully to see you one day, I imagine. Now, we're going to leave you with The Streets. They're back. The British rap project that's led by Mike Skinner is releasing a new mixtape. It's called None of Us Are Getting Out of This Life Alive. Now, this is actually The Streets' first full-length since through 2011's Computers and Blues. This album is full of collaborations with artists such as Green Tea Peng and a track with Tame Impala called Call My Phone Thinking I'm Doing Nothing Better that will leave you missing your old Nokia. And we're going to leave you with that track. But before we go, I want to thank my guest, Chris Illingworth. Thank you so much for being with us today. Do check out GoGo Penguin's latest album. It's called GoGo Penguin. For more arts and culture news, head to our website and stay in touch on social media. Stay tuned to France 24. More news is coming up right after this.
Call my phone thinking I'm doing nothing better. I'm just waiting for it to stop so I can use it again.
I was gonna call you back, I swear, just as soon as I felt.
You call my phone thinking I'm doing nothing better. I'm just waiting for it to stop so I can get back to it. How funny family is actually fucking has you in bits. Your mum has good genes but dad's are ripped.